The Wyoming Territory, late winter of 1879. The sky was steel gray, the air bitter enough to freeze a man's lungs. Thomas Avery knelt in the snow, pressing his hands against the wound in his best friend's chest. Samuel Callahan's breath came ragged, every exhale a white ghost in the cold air. "Tom," Sam coughed, blood flecking his lips. "She's got nobody. You gotta promise me." Thomas's stomach knotted. He'd met Mary Callahan only once, but Sam talked about her all the time. Brave, too brave for her own good. A burned scar on her arm from saving a child in a fire. Lived alone on the edge of Silver Creek, making her own way. "Promise me you'll marry her," Sam whispered, gripping Tom's coat with surprising strength. "She'll never ask for help, but she'll need it. Out here, a woman alone." Thomas swallowed hard. "I promise." Sam's hand went slack. That was the last word he ever spoke. 2 days later, Thomas stepped off a steam train in Silver Creek. Sam's coffin left in the care of the undertaker. The air smelled of coal smoke and pine. He found Mary behind her small house, splitting firewood in a faded cotton dress, sleeves rolled up to reveal the jagged burn scar Sam had told him about. "You're Tom Avery," she said without looking up. "Yes, ma'am." "You here for Sam?" "I'm here because Sam's gone." Her axe came down hard on the log. The sound was sharp, final. She didn't cry. Before he could find the right words, he added, "Before he died, he made me promise I'd marry you. Take care of you." Her head turned slowly, eyes like storm clouds. "And you keep your promises?" "Every last one." She studied him a long moment, then went back to chopping wood. "We'll see." That evening, Thomas noticed Mary kept a rifle propped by the door. "Expecting trouble?" he asked. "Trouble's been expecting me," she said, and left it at that. The next day, trouble arrived. 4 riders came up the dirt road, led by a tall man with a neat black beard and a silver watch chain. "Afternoon, Miss Callahan," he said, tipping his hat. "We need to talk." Mary didn't flinch. "I told you last time, Kearney, I'm not selling." Kearney's smile was cold. "Everything's for sale, but I'm feeling generous. You've got until the end of the week." Thomas stepped forward. She said no. Kearney's eyes flicked to him. "And you are?" "Someone who doesn't like bullies." Kearney chuckled, but his men's hands hovered near their guns. "See you soon, Miss Callahan." They rode off, dust hanging in the air. That night the wind rattled the shutters. Mary sat at the table cleaning her rifle, while Thomas watched the shadows outside. Then, a soft crunch of boots in the dirt. Thomas reached for his Colt. "Stay inside." The barn door creaked. He moved quiet, each step sinking into the cold ground. Inside, a figure was cutting the harness straps on Mary's wagon. "Don't move," Thomas growled. The man spun, a knife in his hand. Thomas fired once. The shot echoed, and the man collapsed, clutching his leg. From the house, Mary's voice rang out. "More coming from the road." Thomas helped her bar the door as 3 more shadows emerged in the moonlight. Bullets punched through the wood, splinters flying. Thomas fired back through the window, dropping one of the attackers. The others fled into the darkness. When it was over, Mary set the rifle down and looked at him. "Guess you're useful after all, Mr. Avery." Tom," he corrected again. Her lips twitched, almost a smile. But in the back of Thomas's mind, one thing was clear: whoever Kearney was, he wasn't going to stop. The next 3 days were tense. Thomas repaired the wagon straps, reinforced the barn door, and kept his Colt close. Mary worked as if nothing had happened, tending her chickens, chopping wood, and baking bread that filled the cabin with the smell of home. But every time Thomas caught her watching the tree line, he knew she was thinking the same thing he was. Kearney would be back. On the 4th morning, Mary set 2 cups of coffee on the table and sat across from him. "Why are you really here, Tom?" He met her gaze. "Because I promised Sam." Her eyes softened for a moment, then hardened again. "You think I need saving?" "I think you deserve someone in your corner." Silence stretched between them, broken only by the wind against the shutters. Then she said, "You stand with me, you're in this fight to the end. No running. I've never been the running kind." By afternoon the weather turned. Snow flurries swirled through the pines, and the road into town lay quiet until the distant drum of hooves broke the stillness. Kearney. This time he brought 6 men. They spread out around the yard, rifles glinting under the pale sun. Kearney called out, "Last chance, Miss Callahan? Sell the land or we take it." Mary stepped onto the porch, rifle in hand. "Over my dead body." Kearney's smile was cold as the snow. "That can be arranged." Gunfire exploded sharp and deafening. Thomas dove behind the water trough, firing at the men closing in from the barn side. Mary's rifle cracked, dropping one of Kearney's riders clean off his horse. Bullets chewed through the porch railing. Smoke hung heavy in the air. Thomas's hat was shot clean off his head. But he kept firing, counting shots, reloading smooth as a card shark's shuffle. One of Kearney's men charged with a shotgun. Thomas rolled, came up on one knee, and fired. The man fell, weapon clattering into the snow. Through the chaos, Thomas saw Kearney moving for the side door. "Mary, left side!" he shouted. She turned just as Kearney burst through the kitchen entrance. The two faced each other in the narrow space, her rifle against his revolver. "You don't have the guts," he sneered. Her voice was steady. "You don't know me?" The shot rang out like thunder. Kearney staggered back, eyes wide, then crumpled to the floor. Outside, the last of his men saw their leader fall and bolted for the road. The only sound left was the wind and the crackle of the fire inside. That night, they buried the bodies out past the pines. When it was done, Thomas leaned on the fence, looking at the land stretched under the moonlight. Mary stood beside him. "I guess Sam was right about you." He turned to her. "About what?" "That you'd keep your promise." Her hand found his, cold but sure. "You still want to marry a woman who can outshoot you?" Thomas smiled for the first time in days. "Wouldn't have it any other way. If you want to hear more Wild West tales like this one, stories of loyalty, danger, and the kind of love that stands its ground, then hit that subscribe button. Because out here on the frontier, there's always another story waiting at the edge of town.